Hi everyone, this is the GUAC maintenance meeting. The call is being recorded and will be available online. Participation in the meeting is in accordance with LF antitrust policy as well as OpenSSF code of conduct. I think I've seen everyone's introduction from the video from 2 weeks ago. I think I will introduce myself since I think everyone else was on that call. I'm Brandon. I'm on the Google Open Source Security team. I work on GUAC as well as internally we have kind of like a open source supply chain metadata aggregator called Cyto, which I talked a little bit about at KubeCon. So yeah, here to solve the supply chain metadata issues. Cool. All right. Yeah, so it looks like we have two main items on the agenda. First is to talk through what needs to go out to announce the projects, the new community, as well as in preparation for Dayan and Ben's talk in Open Source Summit. We talked about going back to the demo that the Trustify folks did. Really cool. I think we'll have some discussion around that. Mike said he may be joining in a bit as well. And then looks like we have another one on status of repo moving. Uh, cool. Ben, do you wanna go first?
Yep. Let me just, I'll drop the link in the chat to the doc. I think it's in the notes already, but so I want to go through what I shared in Slack real quick. The idea here is not to have like the ultimate final state of all the changes, but just have something that looks reasonable as a starting point. Do you need me embiggen this a little bit? So first on the website, kind of what I was thinking was some changes to the header, and then changing the GitHub target URLs to be the org level. A lot of it stuff points to just GuacSec Guac right now. I would like to import the historical blog posts from the trustification.io blog, or at least the ones that seem relevant. Just that way, at some point Red Hat may shut that site down. We want to have some project history. But that might be like a round two sort of thing, depending on, I haven't really looked at how many posts there are or how long it would take to move them over. The main page, this is a great forcing function because I don't necessarily love the way our main page is right now. So, I want to have sort of like a hero at the top, and then show the core projects with a link to the additional smaller repos that we have. Keep the use cases content that we have on there, at least for now, because I feel like those are general enough that it kind of covers the whole umbrella. Then obviously we'll say that GUAC's an open SSF incubating project, and then basically everything else on that page will go away, either to a different page or just be dropped. So a lot of that content will then be on the page for GUAC, and basically take just a quick summary and then move the existing YGuac content from the YGuac page, and then the what people are saying about GUAC that is currently on the main page in there. And then for Trustify, I was just gonna grab sort of the intro content from the Trustify docs and put it on there for the time being. And then obviously, as we get further along, we'll make lots of updates to all of this stuff. But just for the guac.sh website, that was what I had in mind. So I'll wait a moment to see if there are comments or suggestions or questions.
This all, yeah, sounds good to me.
All right.
Well,
Go ahead.
I think one of the questions I had, I'm looking kind of like the current GUAC.sh landing page. Do we want to have that kind of like industry collaborator section still? Are you thinking about removing that? I think if not that, that needs a little bit of an update.
Yeah, so that's the one. It's like the logos for Google,
Yeah.
Kusari, City, Purdue. Um,
Yeah.
I was thinking we'd remove it. If people feel strongly about keeping it, we could do that, and then just add Red Hat's logo in there. Um, we might need to. What we might do is leave it out for now, and then just make sure Red Hat's brand team is okay with putting it on there. Um, and then once they sign off, we can add it back in.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, I think my thought there is just like I think alongside like the Open SSF incubating project is to show kind of like it's not just a single company
Right.
project. Yeah.
I think we can get from our team quickly the approval to put Red Hat logo. So, I mean,
Yeah.
if people are okay to keep it, we can, we don't have to remove it.
Okay. I know how brand can be about things, not just at Red Hat, but at all companies. So I don't want to um, ruffle any feathers. So
Cool, cool, cool. I'll get it going. So we'll see
okay.
if we get it in time. Cool. If not, then remove it and put
Okay.
it back.
For the docs, um, it's much smaller, but basically I just want to mostly just rearrange stuff right now. Um, so we'll basically have two sections. We'll have, and this is on docs.guac.sh, just for clarity. So I'll have a guac section that just has the demos, the user references, which basically is most of the how guac works section, and then something about guac visualizer. Um, for Trustify, we'll have the concepts, and then the administration guide, which are basically existing content from the Trustify docs right now. Um, and then um, maybe we'll add some docs for SWID core at some point. I'm looking at Jeff, even though he's not on my screen, but uh, that's something we don't have to do right now. I just want to make a note since I thought of it.
Do you imagine that there'll be a docs landing page or there'll be just specific?
Yeah, I think we'll have an index page that is basically, welcome to the docs for Guac, go here, for Trustify, go here. I have to look at how Jekyll is laid out, because there's pretty good sidebar navigation already, but I think it would be good to have it, just sort of a basic, hey, where are you going, and then also like link to the main website if people are looking for contributing or community, things like that. So and the last thing I had in this doc was a blog post for us to run on the Guac blog. It's pretty generic. I think I basically, like, the first two paragraphs are almost verbatim the abstract for the talk that Dayon and I are giving in Amsterdam next week. And then I incorporated some feedback that Brandon left this morning. So that the idea was we'd, have that probably sometime next week. Either, could probably do it earlier in the week. That way we don't have to try and get it going Thursday morning. Um, and then there's been an open question of, do we want OpenSSF to do a blog post? And then if we do, um, one, will they have time to, will they be too busy next week to publish it? Do they have other editorial conflicts? And then, will they want sort of separate content? Or would they basically just republish this with a link to our blog post? So
I'm guessing, but just to ask, you're okay for me to share it with the Red Hat content team, just to
Yeah.
see if they want to do anything more on top of this and provide them with more context about what you're doing.
Yeah, I think in terms of at least like, I think this can be kind of almost a final draft already that we just like get approvals on. I think it'll be nice to have at least a blog post from the OpenSSF, right? Because if not, it's I'm not sure whether
Yep.
someone will get surprised by this, and then someone from OpenSSF will be surprised by this, and it's not the place we want to be. Ben, who do you work with last time at OpenSSF to get the previous blog post published?
Sally Cooper is the point of contact for the OpenSSF blog, so I can talk to her about that.
I think I'm good with the content here. If to at least like start the process for OpenSSF, I think we can try and get some fuzzy consensus on the call.
Yeah. And my hope is that they're willing to just basically reprint this with a link to the GUAC blog post, just in terms of the amount of time and trying to come up with different ways to say the same thing. But I'll let everyone know what Sally says when I talk to her.
Awesome. Yeah, I think from my side, I just have to send it to a mailing list to make sure what we're saying is not in conflict with anything else. I don't foresee that to be an issue. Cool. So I guess if this looks good, Ben, is there anything else that you need from us?
Nope. I'll send another reminder in Slack today just for people to take a look, and then I'll start putting together pull requests for the docs and website changes, so we can try and land those at the end of the week. Since next week will be kind of busy for us, being on site at Open Source Summit.
Sounds good. Cool. Yeah, I saw you added a note on repo moving.
Yep.
Is that a quick one or?
Yeah, maybe we can do that before dependency analytics because it's the same context. So we still didn't do anything. We have a plan to move first just to biggest repos, the backend, Rustify backend, and the UI, and then make sure that we can continue working on those uninterruptedly under new, because that's where the majority of work goes. And before start moving, we wanted to clean a couple of things to make our life easier. So there's like a couple of utility repos that being used by, I think, primarily UI, that we want to like merge into the UI so that it needs to be done anyway. So it will be easier for everybody to like spend a few days on that and then move everything. And we want to give us, because there's a lot of things in the GitHub Actions and things like that that will probably break or so we want to give ourselves like a few days to make sure that everything's run smoothly once we do that, and then proceed with other stuff, with dependency analytics and other things. So hopefully, yeah, in a few days we'll be in a shape to try this. So that's the current status.
Cool. That sounds good. I also gave you, I think, Ona, so I think you should have all the permissions.
Yeah. So I'll let you know, guys, once we start doing this, just so everybody's aware what's going on and things like that, so that we can all be in the loop.
Awesome. That's good. Ben?
One thing before we get into the meatier topics. So with Open Source Summit being next week, I know several people will be there. I don't know if we want to have this meeting next week or not. And then the week after is the Labor Day holiday in the US. So I know a big chunk of us won't be there. So I just wanted to, if we decide we want to cancel one or both of those meetings, figure we should have that conversation now, and then I can work with ops to get it removed.
Yeah, that's a good point. I won't be at Open Source Summit next week, but I'm assuming you and they as will be. Um, I think I'm good to.
I'm actually
Sorry.
traveling, I think, on Wednesday, so I'll be around on Monday. So I'm going only for the OpenSSF day.
Okay. I think the main things that we want to make sure we get done is to make sure the blog posts and the changes for the website, anything that needs to be done for the talk goes through. So in that sense, I think is it I don't think we have anything specific on the agenda that we have to get to for that. So I'm fine with doing it offline and then moving the meeting.
Sounds good. While
Yeah.
we're at the meeting, do we have any updates on the time change or?
Yeah, so I think we put out a Slack message of moving this meeting an hour earlier. There wasn't any there was only positive feedback. So I think the proposal was to do this starting September. So this could be a good announcement. And maybe Ben, if you're doing the meeting cancellations, let's make that change to move the meeting one hour earlier and update the. I think we have to update the community page as well.
I will take care of that.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, and then Labor Day, I'm gonna be out. I'm not sure whether Ben and Jeff, you guys are gonna be out as well.
Labor Day? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I guess we can start off at the new timing the following week then. I do think if there's anything that we have to resolve um around like the projects or anything, we shouldn't wait for a meeting, right? Let's just do it in the Slack channel. Right.
Sorry, I got
Okay.
distracted for a second. Did we decide about next week's meeting? Are we still keeping that?
Okay,
No, I think that would be good. Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think we decided to skip the next
Okay.
2 weeks, and then we'll resume at the new timing an hour earlier. Awesome. Cool. If not, maybe let's go into the dependency. What's it called? Dependency analysis discussion. I hope everyone had time to look at the recording. Really cool demos. I think I had some question, and I'll put it in the meeting notes for those that may not have seen it. I think I have a couple. I have a couple of questions, but I wanted to see whether others wanted to. Oh, whether anyone wanted to give a kind of like brief brief introduction before we jump into it. All right, if not, I'll ask my questions. So I thought it was super cool. I love the IDE integration. I think that was super helpful. I think there were two parts of it where I was very curious on, not including the AI bits, but one of it was the metrics. I think there were some factors like I saw like toxicity or something like that, and I was kind of curious a little bit about one, the metrics that are being used, and how we see people consuming that, like how they're defined and how we see people consuming that. Because I know like we've had a lot of discussions around like OpenSSF scorecards as well, where yeah, there are some metrics that are defined. There is generally a bit of a users are not able to understand how to use the metric within their policy. So I think one is like I think there are very interesting metrics that you have, like at least the names, but I don't really know what they mean. So I wanted to find out a little bit more, but also kind of curious about how you're thinking the users will interact with some of these metrics.
Yeah. Regarding the metrics, so we are executing a certain tasks on the LM-eval harness report, and so far we have only executed a bunch of reports, so on 3 different models, and we are experiencing with the different metrics and how to interpret them. So regarding our goal is to help users that are not, as you said, are not so familiar with the meanings of the metrics and the impact they might have, and also given that this is very specific to each use case that each model is being applied to. So it is more or less orientative as a guidance for the users so that they can know how to improve their metrics if they want to. So we have defined a bunch of thresholds and categories for only a handful of metrics. We are working on a better report where users can better understand the meaning of each of the metrics and the tasks that they are related to. And also, I don't remember if it's in the report itself already, but you should be able to see the impact that this the metric result has. So if it's moderate, it will tell you what the meaning is. So what the impact might be on toxicity or bias or so on. I forgot what the question was.
Oh yeah, I was kind of curious, like what does the toxicity and bias actually mean?
If I remember correctly, it's about how can you interact with the model to give you it's about the language. I don't know how to express it, but it's the kind of language that can be offensive or not. To be honest, I cannot give you a specific definition. but it's one of the tasks that is executed on the LM1 harness tool. I can find it for you.
Maybe I'm getting a bit confused. I think I interpreted it as like, or maybe this is like the toxicity or the bias of the community, the open source project. Is that the case, or you're talking specifically about the
Model.
model? Oh, just the
Yes.
model.
Yeah, I misunderstood. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay, so these are model specific metrics. Okay. All right.
Correct.
I thought it was like something cool about like it's just open source community docs.
There's the idea for the new project, right?
There is no tool to measure that.
Gotcha. I think one of the other things that I was curious about was there was this like, oh, it doesn't contain vulnerabilities, but there is like a trusted content version for it, right? I think there is a there's some level of policy that teams want to be able to say is like, oh, you should prefer this particular mirror of this library, or like the internal okay, whether it's a Red Hat one or whether it's the Sonatype one if you're using Java, some Java applications, or like assured open source, or your own internal mirrored copy, right? Is this something where I think if there's a one-to-one mapping, it is nice. I think a lot of some of the questions that we have sometimes is like, if there isn't a direct version of it, is that a good way to kind of have a recommendation that is not a direct mapping?
At the moment, the implementation of the service that provides the recommendations are, well, it's getting information from the VEX files that we have at Red Hat. So it has to match it has to appear in the same advisory, or has to have I think it's related to the advisory. But the implementation of the recommendations is transparent, so it's another service that we are using, and this dependency analytic backend, what it does, it interacts with multiple vulnerability providers, and then it will go to the recommendation service and aggregate all the data. So as long as it comes with the right format, we don't care how this data is extracted.
So we will have to provide some kind of whether it's VEX or, well, I'm not sure, because it just says like, if you give me a Perl or a package version, here are the alternatives that you can get, right?
So can you repeat?
Like the recommendation engine needs to know that this particular version is linked to this particular internal mirror or the Red Hat content trusted content package, right?
Yeah.
And you said that's being done by the VEX format today, or is there like another protocol that you're?
I don't think it's so. I think this information is coming, for example, from OSV as well. Like if you have any remediation information somewhere, so this particular vulnerability is fixed by this version. Maybe it's not like that today, but I guess we're going into that direction, right?
Actually, the recommendations endpoint is using GUAC, no?
Yeah.
This is what I understood. So there was a few vex files that were added to GUAC, and this information is coming from there.
Gotcha.
So I understand.
I see.
Yeah. So basically, I think we have a lot of work to do here, right? So obviously, being able to implement a custom policies that people would like to have, but the whole idea is to be able to find better versions, right? So yeah, either by getting these things directly for OSV or CSAF advisories, like, okay, if you know that this version is affected, and we have advisories that says that this particular version fixes this, so maybe it's better to use that. But even maybe a little bit more data analysis saying like, okay, we know about this version that a lot of projects use with this kind of stack that has less vulnerabilities in it. So maybe that's the better one to use. So there's a lot of things we can do here, right?
Yeah, I think that's a trick. That one we found to be tricky because generally there isn't a best alternative. um,
One thing that we have been thinking about, not yet technically even, is to, if let's say a vulnerability has some, a package that you use has some known vulnerabilities and there isn't a known fix, maybe the recommendations can go around recommending other open source packages that are for the same purpose, but and they are also popular. So recommend a different stack or a different open source project, depending on tendencies or popularity. But
yeah.
to share some thoughts.
Yeah, I think we have this kind of alongside the whole like the sauce track where we're saying, okay, we want all dependencies to be hermetic, right? It's kind of like similar to the you should use all packages that belong to Red Hat trusted content. I think it'll be awesome to be able to see the usage, like whenever a user wants to import a package, and then provide that kind of instrumentation back. Like, is there a way to retrieve it? Because maybe a ton of users want to use this package, but it's not being supported by the internal mirror, or not being supported by whatever trusted content policies you have in place. Yeah, I think it'd be super cool to be able to see those metrics. For us, we have kind of like that internal mirror in the hopes to be like fully hermetic. And one of the strategies that we talk about is like whenever the user requests something on the back end, we'll just pull a copy of that internally, right? So you do protect against like that. What if a public registry is compromised? There will always be an internal mirror. So like some kind of like pub sub feed, which like will trigger as an event so that internal mirrors or trusted content repositories will be able to react to it. I think that could be interesting as well. I guess one question that I have from you is maybe we work quite a bit with the depth of dev team as well. Is there any information that you think would be helpful that could be exposed?
I'm not sure we looked that deep into depth dev for this, but I think it's generally a great idea to try to get some information from there as well.
I guess more broadly, like if you think if like a package manager could provide some information, what do you think would be helpful information?
Well, the only thing I can add here is that instead of resolving the dependencies locally, we considered using depth for that, but the builds might differ when are executed with the different environments. So, and the vulnerability data is similar, so the sources are more or less the same. So no, we didn't see any benefit in using that step so far.
Yeah, I can imagine a couple of things that would be nice is to be able to figure out like, oh, is there provenance for this particular package being uploaded in the repository? Whether like was there a change in ownership of this repository in the past few weeks or something like that, right? I like outside, I guess like outside vulnerabilities, are there any indicators that you think would be interesting to warn developers about in terms of choosing a dependency or not choosing a dependency?
I think, I mean, definitely in the future, maybe we can use this work on the dependency analytics as a base for all these other, yeah, I mean, we don't have anything else that directly communicates, integrates with the IDEs and CI/CD stuff. So it'd be good to like use this as a kind of like a framework to provide this integration.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, just to be clear, I'm not kind of just like more in a brainstorming mode of like trying to figure out like what are good things that we could work on as a community to like, oh, maybe we should look for other data sets that provide us more things, right? Like I'm not specifically saying this in terms of like does the system do this, but more of like a brainstorming kind of session.
Yeah, originally the first version, the previous version of the plugin was aggregating more data from GitHub, like stars and popularity. But as we simplified all the infrastructure, we decided to keep only focus on the security information. But anything that we might find security related that can help the users or provide better information for the actions you can take, yeah, we should definitely do it. But yeah, I honestly don't know what else can be helpful.
I mean that's why we're here for, right? It's like to go figure that out. I guess my last thing that I had, I know I've been kind of like hogging this conversation, Like how was the experience with working with the LLMs or like the AI stuff to do some of this? Someone's like how was it working with the LLM stuff? Was it very different from traditional packages and all that?
Yeah, it's completely different story because for the LLMs there is almost no data of this kind. So these reports you cannot find them online, so they're not published. If you go to Hugging Face, you can start seeing some sanitized reports or some sanitized data that might not deter you from using this model. But for the dependencies, everything is public. So all the the dependencies, all the relationships, and it's more reliable data. We are trying to find more data sources for adding security-related information to these LM reports.
So it sounds like LM, the LM data is like pretty much very unstructured today, and so there's some work to do in order to make it structured. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's like no one wants to let you know how bad their LM is.
That's all the questions for me. I don't know, Mike. Just see you jumped on. Yeah, I think it was a very cool demo. I enjoyed it a lot. Thanks for sharing. Especially on the LM side, that's something that I haven't seen too much of, so that's cool. Yeah, if not, any other questions? If not, I think that's all we had for today. We're gonna have a 2-week break, and then we're gonna come back and with the new announcement, and hopefully have a bunch of new folks join.